Cub Scout. Oh, good, thanks. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the Cub Scout update training. We'll start with the pledge and the Scout oath if people join us, and then we can I'll give an introduction after that.
I'll undo my flag.
I've actually got here we go. So for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask everybody to stand so we can all look at each other's chest. Unless you're driving in a car, we do the Cub Scout salute, which is 2 fingers to our brow or to the bill of our cap. And if you're in uniform, hand over your heart. If you're not in uniform, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. And 2 is the command to drop your salute. Then we're going to do the Scout oath and the Scout law. For that, we give the Cub Scout sign, which is your arm straight up. It's not the Scout sign, which is your arm out to the left. It's your arm straight up, fingers apart. Scout oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Then the Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. So with that, oh, whoops, I forgot to do Scout oath and Scout law. There we go. Anyway, what our purpose in this training is, there's been a significant change in the Cub Scout program that came into effect June 1st. It affects the starting 2024-25 scouting year. So the scouting year we're all just starting. We've got lots to cover, so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Bill Geller. I'm the Algonquin District Training Chair. I'm also the Chartered Organization Representative and former Cub Master of PAC-3 here in Rybrook. We really have an incredibly strong group of trainers, of experienced Cub Scout leaders. One of the best trainers in the council is Dina Bochnik. She's part of the Greater Hudson Valley Executive Board. She is the council's national representative who was at the national meeting where they introduced and rolled out all this stuff. So she's got an incredibly deep knowledge about what all this stuff is and why we did it. She's the committee chair and former Cub Master of PAC 85 in Elmsford. We have John DeFrancesco, who's the Hudson Delaware District, the vice chair there. He's also the Cub Scout Roundtable Commissioner there. And he just stepped down as Cub Master of PAC 32 in Walden. We have Annika McCarter, who is the Cub Master of PAC 2146 in Tuxedo, Sloatsburg, and just an incredibly creative and dynamic Cub Master. Liz DeChico, who's Cub Master of PAC 353 Eastchester, and just an incredible energy and excitement for what she always brings. He's going to come here later because he's at his PAC meeting. Mo Acevedo, who does just about everything. He's Algonquin District Commissioner. On the PAC level, he's the committee chair of PAC 400. He's committee chair of a troop, scoutmaster of a troop, also in Port Chester, and about 700 other things. We've got Ray Bradley, who's our district chair for Algonquin. He was a den leader and PAC committee member in PAC 33 in Larchmont. And last but absolutely not least, we have Celeste Hughes. She's the membership chair for the Algonquin district. She's also our Cub Scout Roundtable Commissioner, and she is the longtime Cub Master of PAC 6 Crestwood. So that's who you're going to be hearing from today. Oops. So the outline of what we're doing is I'm starting here with an introduction. Dina is going to talk about an overview of the changes, why they were made, what happened. John is going to talk about the new Bobcat adventure and the other required adventures. Annika is going to talk about the elective adventures. Liz is going to cover the changes to Webelos and Hour of Light. Mo is going to talk about the uniform changes. Ray is going to talk about the new handbooks and other resources. Celeste is going to do an online demonstration of the Den meeting information that they have online, which really replaces the Den leader guides. Then I'm going to wrap it up with an overview of the program, talk a little bit about other training, and then we're going to go into Q&A. So a couple of notes on what we want to do to the program. Please keep your microphone muted during this main program. We actually have the ability to mute you, so we will if there's some background noise. We are recording this program, so it will be available for people in your packs and people that you know to do it. We'll put it up on the Greater Hudson Valley website with links and the materials we have. If you have questions, we have a lot of material to go through. You will have questions along the way. Hopefully get to them at the end, but please put your questions in the chat box. We're going to be keeping track of the questions. We'll start answering them at the end if they haven't been covered. And we'll also have opportunity to unmute and discuss at the end. So we have about 90 minutes of the programming, about 30 minutes of Q&A, or maybe a little bit later. And finally, really thank you all for coming, for learning about the new program and everything that you do for Cub Scouts. It's leaders like you who make the program work and bring it all to our Scouts. These are the people we want to, make, this is what we do it for the kids. So thank you all. We're starting with Dina, and she's going to give us an overview of the changes.
Great. Thanks so much, Bill. As Bill mentioned, I am our national rep. So this is my second year that I've been the national rep for the executive board, which means that I attend the national meetings as well as vote on changes. So I am one of 3 of our council's voting members when there are changes made by national. And one of the things that we had to vote on was, what changes we were going to make to the program. Some of you who have been in scouting for more than 3 years will have gotten a survey in your email about 2 years ago, where they really asked leaders to kind of give some deep dive feedback. I don't know, Bill, if you want to skip ahead in the slides that went back to the beginning. Some deep dive feedback on what was working and not working with the program. And really, this came out, this is the cover of one of the reports that came out in June of this year. And really, the co-program is about the kids learning through fun, and it needs to be fun for the kids, but it also needs to be simple and easy for us as leaders to be able to deliver that program. If it's too complicated, then we're as leaders are going to give up, and our kids don't get the most they can get out of the program. So they really were kind of looking at streamlining and where they could make things better and where they could make things easier for us as leaders. Do you want to go ahead one, Bill? So as I said, they did a survey to leaders, and a lot of what they found was that people, you can go ahead one more. People really, the time, making sure that the activities were age appropriate, that the activities, you could easily get the materials and the things that you need to be able to run an activity. It was really important feedback for council, for National Council to receive. One of the efforts that we're seeing across the board that National is trying to do is really getting more people involved on the national, regional, and local level that have boots on the ground, who are truly entrenched in this program and are involved in the program on a day-to-day basis. One of the challenges that we have faced for years on the national side is a lot of our truly committed and passionate scouting leaders had been in the program and had been on the board and part of national for decades. And whereas their heart was completely and 100% in the right place, they were so far removed from the day-to-day program that they weren't in touch with the actual day-to-day needs of our parents and the scout leaders. And that's something that they are actively trying to change on the national level. And the survey really, really hit, I mean, that hit home. I mean, that was the number one takeaway, that what national thinks is happening and what's really happening in the program were night and day. So, you know, these answers really, really brought that home, that, you know, making sure that the activities are appropriate for the age of the scout in that rank. You know, things like Whitlandship is not something we should be doing with a 5-year-old, and really understanding that. Making sure that there are activities that actually will keep an entire den engaged and they're not too complicated for that age. Making sure that they're not too complicated, that we as den leaders can't pull them off in a short period of time, because we don't have a lot of time with our dens, nor do they have long attention spans. So that was a lot of what drove a lot of the changes that we'll be talking about tonight. So if you want to go ahead, Bill. So again, how long does it take to complete an adventure? Making sure that there are things that we can do in 30 to 60 minutes with our dens and our packs, so that they're not things that are very complicated and they need to take things home, or we need to have a lot of things to be able to prepare. You know, and we kind of netted out where most things are happening in 30 minutes or 30 to 60 minutes. So this was the type of information they were really trying to drill down with their survey, and what drove the changes. Go ahead, one, please. All right. So these are kind of the big buckets of what changes were made and why they were made. These 4 themes are not going to be surprising to anyone who's been involved with the program for any amount of time. Bobcat just wasn't working as it was originally. Stay on that slide. Bobcat wasn't really working, because, you know, you were doing activities that weren't necessarily appropriate for a 10-year-old that would be appropriate for a 6-year-old during the program. And making that a required badge as it was packaged for each rank without changes really wasn't making sense. So that's now kind of enrolled in. It's not a rank unto itself. There's now Bobcat related activities that are age appropriate with each of the ranks. There was no rhyme or reason to the adventures. They weren't all following the Scout Oath and Law, so there were big holes in the program, particularly around outdoor adventures or conservation, or you know, doing duty. I mean, there was duty to God for all of them, but there wasn't a hiking requirement or a camping requirement, things that are core to the principles of scouting. That's now been changed. You'll see that they align very closely with the Scout Oath and Law and the 12 points of scouting. There was also a very inconsistent number of required and elective for each rank. That's now changed. Now it's 6 and 2 across the board, so that it's less confusing for our leaders and for our advancement chairs in particular. Webelos, I mean, is it a 1-year program? Is it a 2-year program? Is it 2 programs? It's always been very confusing for leaders. Now it is much more cut and dry. What is Webelo? What is considered Arrow of Light? They're 2 separate years and 2 separate ranks, with much more of a focus in that Arrow of Light year on transitioning them into scouting and more of the outdoor activities. And lastly, the awards really weren't an incentive for packs and dens to be doing things over the summer. It wasn't encouraging them to have a camping event in July or August. It wasn't really something that the den leaders had on their radar. It was more something that we as a Cub Master or a committee chair were paying attention to. You know, and it was really something that fed into the journey to excellence, which is something that the den leaders were like, journey to what? But, you know, so it wasn't something that the den leaders really cared about. So that's all kind of been reconfigured as well, and it's, you know, and journey to excellence has gone away now as well. So that was really kind of it in a nutshell. Any questions so far? I mean, apologies, I drank a coffee right before this, and so if I'm going really fast, please tell me. I'll slow down. But I'm a caffeinated New Yorker, so. So really, in a nutshell, this is what they've done, and I know Celeste is going to go into this in much more detail later on, so I will not steal her thunder. But as I said, there are 6 and 2 in terms of required and electives. for each of the ranks now. So it is a consistent number. They are consistent in theme. And that was intentional. So that we, as a Cub Master, when we're trying to plan a pack meeting, we can now, we can design our meetings around a theme. So there is an activity that aligns with that theme across all of the ranks for at least 8 of the required and elective adventures. So that gives us 8 pack meetings, that can be designed around a theme, which is, that's fantastic. Cub Master, I'm like, hey, because before it was really hard, especially my pack was really small. We are now in our 8th year with my pack. I'm like, oh God, no, 9th year. And we started from nothing. So in the beginning, we had like 6 scouts. So to try to do something as a group where I could tick off a requirement for all my Cubs was really hard. Now that we're a bigger group, it's a little easier because they can splinter off. But now this gives me that theme for each event that I can really kind of design a whole meeting around. Like we can design a whole weekend of going on a hike, and there's a requirement that will reach each of my ranks. So that's really key. That was something that was really important to the people who designed this in the new program. And that committee was actually actual Cub leaders this time around. It wasn't just a group of national board members who decided to come up with electives. It was actually Cub leaders who designed this, and you'll see that as you hear more from the group. Okay, that is it for me. I will hand off now. I think I just covered this one off. We're just going a little out of order in the slides. I will hand off to Joe, and he can talk about how this rolls into the real world and what those required adventures are now for each group.
Well, guys, I'm John DeFrancesco from PAC 32 in Walden and representing the Hudson, Delaware district. So let me go a little more depth of what Gina very well covered already, is that the requirements have been simplified across the board, across the ranks, all right? So when you look at the required adventures for each rank, you'll see there are basically 6 required adventures for each rank, Bobcat being one of them at every level. And then if you look across the ranks, you'll see that from lion to tiger to wolf to bear to Webelos, the themes carry through. So there's an outdoor adventure. There is a, duty to family, duty to God adventure. There is some kind of citizenship adventure where they have written the requirements at an age appropriate level, but the requirements build and carry through the ranks and get a little more in depth as you go up, in the ranks. So again, this is great for a Cub Master, for a pack, for a unit that's meeting with different groups at once, because you can carry the theme all the way through. I'm pretty excited about that change. Then you have 2 electives to do, and you'll see in the next presentation that there are so many elective choices now that I think you could blink and get 2 of them. But this is kind of how it all lines up now. So again, for ease of use and consistency, rank to rank to rank, you now have Bobcat and then the other adventures as they flow there. And it's really good. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on those if you want to go to the next slide. So let's talk about Bobcat. Bobcat is meant to be the first adventure you do each year. You don't just do it once now, you're going to do it each year. And as I was just saying, if you look at the requirements, they're lined up for more age appropriate ease of use. Okay. So the lions are shaking hands and getting to know the other people in their den. Makes a lot of sense for 5-year-olds. While the Arrow of Lights are, going about patrol names and the patrol method and things like that, getting ready to transition to a troop. Then if you look at Bear, falling somewhere in the middle of that, we're meeting our den, we're talking about the Scout Oath and Law, and we're doing kind of stuff in between. So I think it's really great that they broke this down to each appropriate, rank and age level, applying the Bobcat as you would see fit for each group of kids. And again, this can all be found, the requirements can all be found. We're going to show you how to do that. You can go to the next slide. Okay, your required adventures. So there are outdoor required adventures for each level now. You have mountain lion, tigers in the wild, paws on the path, bear habitat, Webelos walkabout, outdoor adventure. So most of these involve a hike. Most of these involve talking about the Cub Scout 6 essentials, which, when you get to a troop, that grows to like 10 essentials. So again, as it's age appropriate, the mountain lion hike is a very short walk, a little walk in the park kind of thing versus, you know, getting up to a 1 mile or whatever as you get up to Webelos. You can go to the next slide. This breaks this down. So again, the lions take a walk outside. The tigers take a walk outside that lasts at least 20 minutes. You know, as you get a little further on, we got a 30-minute walk. Then we're going on a 1 mile walk as a bear. Then by the time you get to Webelos, we're doing stuff along with that walk, talking about buddy systems and stuff like that. So again, it builds as you go, but theoretically, everybody could go out and walk on the same trail, and the lions could turn around at the 20-minute mark, and the wolves could turn around at the 30-minute mark, you know, and the bears could turn around at the 1 mile mark, and we could all get this done as a group. So it's really nice that it lines up now. Next slide. Personal fitness. So this carries through at each rank. We have fun on the run, tiger bites, running with the pack, bear strong, which is a new adventure, stronger, faster, higher, and personal fitness. Again, these talk about just being active, right? So this is where we just talk about things, running, jumping. If you know Cub Scouts, you know that they love being active. So this is a great meeting to host at a park or something like that. But again, we can put a age appropriate, you know, level of activity for each group. Healthy eating is another big factor in this. And then it talks about personal hygiene and rest and relaxation. So a holistic total health approach for personal fitness. Next slide. Here's some of the commonalities there. So you're talking about food groups. We're talking about hand washing when we're talking with the 5-year-olds. Then as you move along, we're talking about foods and snacks, and then how to make a healthy meal, then how to make a healthy meal with the BSA stuff in mind by the time you get to the AOL requirements. So again, they build and build and build, but carrying the same theme all the way through. Next slide. This is where this one fits in, the health and medical form. I know that my pack, my troop, we turn these in at recharter time, December, January for the calendar year, and we just keep them on file for the year. You need more or less of the form depending on the activity you're doing. At least parts A and B are usually on file. I know if you go to camp, then you start adding immunizations and things like that to it. If you go on high adventure, we get into part C with the older scouts, but the health and medical form is part of getting those adventures done and getting it done throughout the year. Next slide. Your citizenship requirements. So in this one, the tigers have King of the Jungle. I'm sorry, the lions have King of the Jungle, then Team Tiger, Council Fire, Pause in Action, My Community, and then Citizenship. I believe Citizenship is a new one for AOLs. The next common activity with all of these is doing some sort of service project. Next slide. Personal safety. This is in there. Lions roar, tigers roar, safety in numbers, bear strong, my safety, and then straight up first aid by the time you get to AOL. Again, protecting yourself. Those were the formerly a separate requirement, a separate patch, there was the cyber chip, there was all these other, this is all just rolled in now for ease of use for the leaders. Again, everyone does the protect yourself rules as part of this adventure. So this is designed to be done easily at home, talking with your family, talking with your parents about personal safety and where you fit in with things and that sort of stuff. Next slide. So, oops, I apologize. I just hit the wrong button. Okay, family and reverence. So this goes into your family's spirituality, your family faith, your family's traditions. Again, Lions Pride, Tiger Circles, Footsteps, Fellowship, My Family, and Duty to God. Normally when I do these with my own pack, we just tell everybody kind of do it at home and let me know it's done. That way the family can talk about their faith and how they do things and what their traditions are and you know, have those discussions without a lot of other influence and interventions there. This can be easily done at home and talks about your family's faith. So kindness is a theme, right? As you get older, we start addressing faith and then what different faiths are, and then what faith means to you by the time you're in AOL. talk about your duty and your role in daily life as far as, being a good citizen and a good person and a reverent person is. Okay, next one. Okay, I guess I'm done. Annika, you're up. You can talk all about the electives.
All right. So yeah, so I'm in the elective adventures. So there's a bunch of different electives. You can see they're kind of a different color here down at the bottom. What's great about the electives is that you can go to the next slide actually. What's great about this is that they've adapted things that were maybe awards or patches or cards or whatever, and they've just made them into these adventures. So it's a lot more streamlined. I think it makes it simpler and easier to understand as a den leader, as a cub master. I think in one of the previous slides it says like line of sight. It helps you be able to plan meetings with these things in mind, and then just have everything be kind of equal. Like, for example, Pinewood Derby or Rain Gutter Regatta. You do that as a pack, you do that as a den or whatever. That's an adventure. So you can get your pin or your belt loop or whatever. It's not its own thing. You don't have to worry about getting patches for it or whatever it is that you do. And then they've done things like fishing, cycling, and swimming. Those are also adventures that you can do. Okay, you can go to the next one. I love too that they've implemented a lot more like STEM stuff. They've balanced out the program, I think, and these have become adventures. I mean, you look at the technology line, and that's all new. Those are all new adventures, right? So that was something that was really missing that they added into these electives. Again, like engineering, there were a few in some of the ranks, but like Tigers and Webelos, they were missing stuff. So they put those in there. Same thing with math. Whole bunch of like most of these are new, right? These are things that we now get to do if we want. Okay, next one. Sorry, I'm going kind of fast. But again, like I've said, they've changed these awards, these patches that you can earn into adventures. So it just again makes it more streamlined. It puts it in front of the leader, so it makes it a lot more easy to achieve. Something I like with the summertime or like the outdoor scout thing, for the summer, it's not dependent on your pack running a summer program. If you go to some district or council run activities in the summer, those count. And now you get, your little adventure pin or belt loop. Just like they said here, instead of just having, all of these random things that you kind of don't know what to do with, these patches, these medals, like whatever, they're adventure loops. They're all the same. And, per the survey that they had, they found that, awards had an achievement rate of 0.5% and an attachment rate of 0 to 3%. It's not great, right? And an elected ventures had a lot higher rate, 15 to 25%. That's quite a drastic difference there. Okay, so I kind of mentioned this, right? So this summertime pack award, the requirement is anytime through May through August, participate in a total of 3 Cub Scout activities. That is completely doable, right? And again, it's not necessarily dependent on your pack having a summertime program, because some packs don't, right? They kind of have a break in the summer. Some do. But there are Cub Scout things that happen in the summer and you participate in them. Boom. You got your adventure done, right? Okay, next one. Again, so like whittling chip, that was something that was a card that you earn, right? And you fill out, or maybe it was a checkbox in Scout book somewhere, right? Whittling chip or knife safety is not something that is done in lions, tigers, or wolves, but for bears, webelos, and arrow of light, it's now, either a pin or a belt loop. And then they can show that, I've earned this. I believe it says there's still an adventure pocket card. So if you have to kind of show, yes, I've done my knife safety, that's still there, but the award, goes along with all of the other pins or belt loops that you've earned for your rink. Okay, so next one. So again, this is kind of how, in terms of like the whittling chip, how it translates over, right? So before you had, the little card that you'd fill out, you'd have the date approved by whatever. And then here you have the different requirements, Bear, Webelos, and Arrow of Light. Similar, but the older that you get, there's a couple added things, right? So like in Webelos, you're starting cooking, you're kind of getting into the camp cooking and stuff. And so, you need to know how to care for your knife, which knives to use for which things you're doing. Same thing for Arrow of Light, except now you need to know how to properly cut the different things for the food that you're making, right? So it kind of changes per rank that you are, whereas before it was just like, boom, here's your whittling chip, right? So it's more age appropriate. Okay, so I think now you have the other slide that I put in there. Yes, so this one. So this is a little blurry, but this is actually something that the Sam Houston Council has on their website, and I think there'll be links to that later. But this is something that's really cool. This can help with the required adventures, but also the electives where, especially me, like I'm a Cub Master, I want to plan a pack meeting and I want to have a theme, but I want to check off some requirements on these adventures. You can go down and be like, oh, well, we're going to do engineering. And so I can look, okay, so, these are the different adventures that go across engineering for the different ranks. They all hit, this in their adventure. So like, let's make sure and bring that out. Or maybe you just hit a couple from the different ranks, or even as a pack, you can give the different dens, more age appropriate activities, but you're all working on the engineering thing. So this is something that can be really helpful in planning if you want to do group adventures together, but all be on the same theme. So again, if you have any questions about the electives, just throw it in the chat. And I think that's my section.
Thanks, Annika. Dina, did you have a question as we went along or before that?
Yeah, I mean, just one thing I wanted to comment on, like, so what Annika was talking about, how things like fishing and cycling, how they have become activities and they're now adventures. That again came out of the survey. So I encourage all of you, when you get these surveys from National, they really are paying attention to our answers now. Those were, so fishing, cycling, Pinewood Derby, hiking, those were all the top 5 activities that families said they want to do with their, as a group. And they were not requirements within the Cub ranks. So they've really kind of folded them in now. So that's really, like, our feedback really is being listened to now. So, as you get more of these, surveys and things from National, please complete them, because they really are listening now. And look at the great changes that they've made for us.
Thanks, Dina. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz, and I'm here to talk to you about Webelos and Arrow of Light uniforms, all things Webelos and Arrow of Light. So with the uniform, prior to this point, the Webelos and Arrow of Lights were both in the tan uniform, which means that, okay, when you became a Tiger in the 2nd grade, you just needed to get second and third grade out of that, first grade. First, second, and third out of the blue uniform. They've transitioned it now so that the Webelos are in the blue uniform and just the Arrow of Light are in the tan uniform. However, we know that some of our scouts, they're busting out of their blue uniform after the 3rd grade, and it's a little bit on the pointless side to just get another blue shirt for one more year. So even though they say that technically the Webelos are in the blue shirt, if the family can make the decision, if you want to at that point, 4th grade, put them in the tan shirt, that is fine. So, we know that uniforms are not cheap. So as a family, if they want to do that, that's fine. So the Webelos, they still wear the plaid neckerchief and the hat. The difference they made this year is that the Arrow of Lights, they technically don't have a hat or a neckerchief. However, they could decide on it as a group. But the thing is also they transition over to a troop probably by the beginning, like the second half of the year. So if you're Arab Lights, they want to wear the Webelos neckerchief, they can. If they want to make their own out of like some fabric or whatever, they can. It's a little bit more independence. Do your best. So there's a couple of things in terms of that, those uniforms. Next slide. So also with the Weeblo and Arab Lights, so if you looked really closely at the colors, the color ribbons, it would say Weeblos. Now it says Adventures, which covers both. Obviously, if you have your Weeblos last year, they do not need to get new ribbons this year to say Adventures. They can keep the same old ones. So, but they still use the Adventures for it. And then for both Webelos and Arab Lights, the required ones are multicolored and the electives have single color. And so you put them on there, like you did in previous years, but just notice that on top of it, it says Adventures now. Next. As Annika said, knife safety, it's a little bit different for third, fourth, and fifth. The Bears, Webelos, and Arab Lights, there's no more whittling chip. And each of those ranks, they focus on something different. So with third grade, it's whittling. Fourth grade, chef's knife, more kitchen skills. And then fifth grade, knife safety. So, that just adds a bit on to each year. Next. 2 different handbooks for Webelos and Arab Light. There are things in Arab Light that is for Scouts BSA. You can't work on it stuff in the Arab Light for the Scouts until you transition to a troop, but it gives you a bit of a preview. But there are 2 different books. Next. And so overall, this shows the comparison between the Webelo Arab Light prior to the change and after. And so, for the Arab Lights, they cross over in the first few months of 5th grade. But for the Webelos, you're in the Webelos the whole year through the end of the 4th grade. And again, both have 6 required, 2 electives. And, it sort of summarizes the changes I said also about the uniform, the handbook, and things like that. So just give it your best shot. I know it's a little bit kind of sort of murky at times and all, but you do your best. Give it your best shot with Webelos and Arrow of Light. And that is it for me. Is Mo on here yet or not yet? Bill?
Yeah, he's there. Mo, you're muted.
Is Mo on here or is he?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay, cool stuff. Take it away, Mo.
I just finished doing what you were doing. I had to do my my parents and my leader. I just left the pack leader. So basically I think you covered some of it towards the Arrow of Light. Bill, can you okay? The lion. Years ago the Lions used to wear a t-shirt and just a hat. It's up to the unit leader and it's up to the parents. Normally the Lions uniform is the yellow neckerchief. They can have the button down blue shirt, the belt, the official belt. The cap is navy blue with a lion cap on it. It's a lion, actually it's like a lion face on it. The neckerchief is optional neckerchief, and the lion there, it's up to the leader and the den leader and the unit. The neckerchief slide again is your typical slide for Cub Scouts. It has the rank, and the middle of it is a brass color. Socks, everything that I mentioned here is optional for our Lions. As you know, many of the kids, they're young, they're kindergarten, and sometimes they want to do it. Sometimes the parents get tired. So it's up to you guys, to the unit, to advise what uniform you want. The tiger is the same as last year. The same shirt, blue shirt. You have the pants are blue, The belt is the blue official belt, socks. A lot of times, parents put the kids in short. My advice to you is get the ankle socks, also the crew socks, or it's up to you. I particularly in my units, I got 2 Eagle Scouts, Cup Masters now, and they're very lenient with the uniform. The kids look good, and but this is the new program, and this is the new regulations they put out. The neckerchief is orange with a neckerchief with a Tiger logo, official BSA, and are the only neckerchiefs that are part of the uniform. The slide again is the gold tone metal slide with orange and the tiger emblem. They may wear and handmade. A lot of times some scout crafts and some events, they decide to make their own handmade slide. That's up to the unit. It's up to the leader and the unit and the den leader. As we go along, we go next to the Wolves, the 2nd grade. And the 2nd grade again is blue. If you look at this right here, that's did you guys speak about the Bobcat badge yet?
Yeah, we spoke about the
Okay,
Bobcat badge
so
and how
the first badge in any of the uniforms will be the Bobcat. And again, the wolf is the color blue with all the badges on it. The belt is the same. You put the slide on the belt. And again, the slide is the wolf head with color like a light blue. But the orange. Now the wolves, if we go to the wolves, remember that the belt is the same. Okay, now bear for the 3rd grader. That's where a little bit different. The color is blue. And again, we go with the badges. First badge is a new badge for each rank. So that's the first badge you're going to put on, and then you can attach. For this particular badges here, I advise people to get the plastic slide that you button to the shirt, and you can put all the ranks. I don't know how many people seen it. It costs about $3. So it makes it a lot easier if you get one of those plastic sleeves that you can put all the ranks in there, including the Bobcat. It's the same uniform as the other, except the color is the hat. They're changing the hat, the slide, and the neckerchief. And then we go to the Weevil, the 4th grade. This year, it's the only different. You just finished, Liz finished speaking about before in regards to that's the only different in uniform changes. The Weevillos, 4th graders will be wearing the blue, the old traditional neckerchief with the slide and the traditional hat. That Weevillo will be wearing the hat. Again, a Weevillo that reaches the 4th grade should be having all the badges. And then you go into the Weevillos Arrow of Light. There's no more Weevillos 5th graders, Arrow of Light now. That's where the uniform changes. The hat is optional. It's up to the unit leader and the den leader. My advice is get the green hat, and as the scout progresses to the troop, he can wear that uniform. All you have to do is change the even the green patches for the numerals of the troop. Neckerchief, they say any scout neckerchief. I guess any scout that what they sell at the scout shop. The picture here displays a green one, but it's up to, again, it's up to the leader and up to the den leader and the unit. My advice is, if you think your scout is going to transfer soon, crossover, my advice to you is to, be optional. But the green hat and the belt, the green belt, I recommend it. Again, the slide, they don't have to wear there, but if they are, they could get a regular slide, a regular Boy Scout slide. So the belt will be green and the slide will be same thing with when they get the pins, they get the rhythms, they put on the right shoulder, the right sleeve on the side, and they can pin those on they did away with the square, the old Weevelos badge. Now you got the oval badge. If you can see it right here, it's that's the badge that they're gonna have. And that's basically what I have in uniform. Remember, it's up to the unit, it's up to the leader. Any questions? No questions?
We're going to take questions at the end, Mo.
Huh?
We're going to try and take questions in the end.
Oh, okay, I didn't
We're-
know.
we're in the
Sorry,
chat box.
I'm sorry I came in late.
Okay.
I had orientation. Go ahead.
Ray,
All right. Yep. Thank you, Mo. I'm Ray Bradley. I'm from Algonquin District. I'm actually out here at a troop meeting, which is I'm in the car, hence the weird lighting situation. But thank you all for joining tonight. I'm here to talk about den leader resources and adult leader resources. And as the slide on the screen says, the best place you're going to want to start as a cub leader is with the handbooks, the same handbooks that your scouts are going to be using. There are now, we talked about this earlier, 6 years worth of programs, 6 ranks, 6 distinct handbooks. The Lion and Tiger handbooks are in workbook format. And then as the scouts move into the older ranks, they move to the spiral bound format that will continue with them into Scouts BSA as well. Next slide, please. Oop. There we go. Thank you. So there are still physical handbooks, and I'm a big proponent of the physical Dead Tree books. Those handbooks are available also on Kindle if you want them digitally. Now here's the thing: if you are an adult leader, if you're like me and you like the Dead Tree books, you ain't gonna find them anymore. All of the adult handbook material has been transitioned to digital, and it's all on the scouting.org website. So if you go up to the scout shop, you go on scoutshop.org and you're hoping to buy the old-fashioned den leader manuals, it's all digital. And on the next slide, we'll show a little bit of where in the world to find that. So the scouting.org website is dense. There's a lot of material in there, a lot of really good material. Certainly as a adult leader, there's no need to invent anything in the sense that it's all in here. But the sort of juiciest stuff as a adult den leader is going to be, if you look there on the left, and maybe Celeste, when we get into the live demo, we can look into this a little bit. That's where you're going to find all of the handbooks. Okay, all of the digital handbooks. And on the next slide, if you, and my sense is that most of us here are experienced scouters at this point, but if you're new to the program, or if you have an adult, a parent, a prospective leader who is new to Cubs, new to scouting, start with these 3 documents here, depending on which role the adult is planning to take on. They're really short and sweet, and they will get you pointed in the right direction without overwhelming anyone. So that's a really nice sort of handout, so to speak, to get somebody who's interested without scaring them off too much. Next slide. So one of the things scouting has really embraced is social media, and there is a ton of good content on YouTube. And if you look, there's a number of different hashtags you can go search on YouTube, but Cub Chat Live is really helpful. These are weekly sessions. They're kind of a podcast format, but they're live video. And if you join them on Friday, you can interact with them in real time, post questions into YouTube and have them answer. The hosts of the show are I believe they're with National, but they're very well educated, very conversant in the program, and they speak about specific topics, kind of go into depth. There's a number of other channels on YouTube that are published by the national organization as well. So definitely a place to look that probably a lot of us don't think to initially look, but lots of really good content in there as well. Next slide, please. A lot of that content has also been collected on the scouting.org website. So again, back over to scouting.org. Again, it's a very rich content library in there. And so I would encourage everybody to dig in there because there's a lot of really good material in there. Next slide, please. We'd be remiss if we didn't point out the obvious, which is that the online training curriculum for specific leader positions is rich with content, right? All of the information that you need to know, whether you're coming in as a committee chair, whether you're coming in as a new Cub Master, the online training will cover all of that, and you get the added benefit of you get a little bit of bling out of it, right? So you get a trained patch, potentially a knot that you can wear on your uniform as well. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So definitely doing the online training can pay off, and it's just a good way to get indoctrinated into the program. Next slide, please. Moving further away from official channels, this is one of my favorite places to look for information and engage in dialogue with other leaders around the country, around the world, is the BSA subreddit. So if you're familiar with reddit.com, there's all kinds of stuff in there, but there is a BSA subreddit that is quite active. It's kind of interesting because there's youth members in there, there's mostly adult members in there, but you get a pretty broad range of perspectives, and I find it to be useful dialogue in there. There's another one like this that I forgot about and should have put in the deck, but some of you might be familiar, scouter.com. It's not official, it might sound official, but also a very good online forum where people exchange ideas, talk about policy, talk about, hey, can I do this? Things like that. Don't forget, you also have district and council resources to pose those kinds of questions to, but definitely good to get a broad range of perspectives. And let's see on the next slide, I think, Celeste, I think you're going to go into detail here. So this is probably a good segue to talk about the adventures review on scouting.org. Over to you, Celeste. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ray. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here tonight and to dig in a little bit more into what we've been talking about this evening with the new program. I would say that the last roundtable in the Cub Scout breakout, there was a pretty good size group of Cub leaders, and everyone's very excited about the program and is feeling really good about it. It makes a lot of sense. I'm going to be sharing some resources so that everything's handy for you and easy to implement as we launch our new scouting year. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is the page that Ray was just referencing with the Den Leader resources. And I put the link in the, can everyone see where it's my screen? I just want to make sure. Bill Geller, can you give me a thumbs up for?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. Before we get too far. So yeah, so I mean, it's the Den Leader resources, as Ray mentioned, are online. And so everything is here in terms of what you would, reference. Just I think most people here are existing leaders, but so this should be familiar about the before, during, after. But really what I wanted to show you is that, as Ray was mentioning, all of the different materials are online. And what I'm excited to share is this page, and I'm going to, I guess I'll drop the link into the chat after. Let's see, can I do this now? I don't think I'll be able to do while I'm sharing, but so this one, we have to send a huge thanks to the Sam Houston Area Council. I don't know who they're, but they put together, basically it's a layer that's sitting above the, all of the different materials that the Boy Scouts of America's put together. So it's, you know, with this effort to, as Dina and John were saying, it's more aligned. It's easier to run multi-rank dens, pack meetings. I know I heard early when we were signing on that Miranda's running 2 different dens at different ranks. So there's a lot of different reasons why it's all the information is in the individual materials, but this page is basically a portal into all the pages. So super helpful. And what you're seeing here, of course, as you've heard a couple of times now before, is that we've got the required adventures going across the top with the asterisk, and then we've got all the different electives. So the main, everyone will be working on character and leadership, outdoors, personal fitness, citizenship, personal safety awareness, and family and reverence. And then there's the +2. Hopefully we do more than just, you know, 2 additional electives. I've been a Cub Master for a bit, and what I would say is that I think that the what they've put together for the main, you know, the required adventures is good. It could begin to feel a little bit repetitive. So I think what I'm looking at this is that it's going to really be those electives that help, you know, keep things fresh, not just for the scouts, but also for the leaders. So these leader resources, as you can see, they're online, but you can also get to this, once we start digging in through the actual resources in terms of the handbooks. So there are QR codes embedded into all the handbooks, including for Tiger and Wolf, where you've got an adult adult materials, and then the materials for the Scout. So those QR codes are going to bring you to some of all the pages that I'm going to be sharing with you. So what I would say is that this is it's just a very handy way to navigate. And what I'm going to do is scroll up, because it's not just that they've put this dashboard together, they've also applied filters. The filters are awesome. So let's say this Sunday this is a shameless plug for the Bike Sunday, but we will be, anyone that's would like to come out to Bike Sunday this Sunday, we're going to be doing cycling requirements, right? So I'm going to have scouts of all different ranks there on Sunday. And like I said, these are filtering. So if I click on cycling, all of a sudden, as I scroll down, I'm going to only see the cycling requirements for the 6 ranks. And what they've done is, it's kind of nice. It's not just a vertical, you know, your typical list of top to bottom, which is fine. But if you, there are other requirements where they've actually got them also side by side. So in this case, let's say Honor Roll, you would click into it, and all these there are 3 requirements for Honor Roll. Of course, they match the materials that are in the handbook. So I'll pull this up. All right, so this is what the page looks like. This is the same page that you're going to see once you get to the QR code. And what I would say is that what's interesting is that Scouts has embedded safety into the program. There's something called the Guide to Safe Scouting that we're all, you know, need to abide by, but it's this, you know, other document that folks might not always look at. So what they've done is made it simple, and they've, you know, the BSA has pulled into the page exactly what's applicable in terms of a safety standpoint. From the checklist, like here, it's, you know, there's even exceptions like the use of push or balance bikes, training wheels, tricycles, and adaptive bikes are acceptable, excuse me, if the Cub Scout hasn't learned to ride a bike. So there's also additional notes in here in case not all of your scouts have learned to ride a bike. And then they have, before starting this adventure, review and become familiar with bike safety guidelines found on the BSA sports and activities page. Now, not everyone would even know that that page exists, but as leaders, we want to make sure that we're providing like good information. And so they've made it, you know, accessible. So it's just like one click away. So you would obviously go and find the information for the cycling. And then the other thing that they've done is during the adventure, So they have before and during. For the during, they've also got something here. So conduct a quick ABC check for bike riding. And what they've done is really done the homework for us. Can everyone see the quick check? Maybe Bill can give me a thumbs up. Okay, so what they've done also is just made it so it's less of you having to do the research and to get like the correct information that's exactly aligned to the requirements. So the Scouts has already done that. So it's just made it easier in terms of planning. So and then also if the bike, well, in this case, the bike activity isn't at your main meeting location, then they also provide the activity consent form that everyone would bring. So all the safety stuff is at the top and it's super handy. The next thing, of course, are the requirements. So in this case, there are 3 requirements that Lions would do for cycling. So it's listed out right there, 1, 2, 3. And then as you go down, you see a requirement run 1, requirement 2, and requirement 3. What you're seeing though below each one is not just the requirement, but you're also seeing a little tile. So in the case of the tiles, you can see follow the docks to safety gear. So that the tiles are showing icons. And I'm going to switch my screen. Bill, I've just switched screens. If you can give me a thumbs up. Okay. So it's basically 4 categories or considerations that you should have before every meeting or activity. So there's icons to indicate if it's indoors, outing with travel, outdoors, the energy level from low level all the way to very high level. So that would influence, like if you're indoors or outdoors, you know, what you might want to do. The supply list, like maybe paper airplane would be a level 2, but Blue the Builder would be a 4 or 5. And then prep time. We're all busy, so sometimes you're looking for something quick that you can get done for your den meeting. So there's also icons with the numbers. So if I go back to on a roll, I can see that for follow the docks to safety, that I've got the indoor icon. It's an energy level of 2, which is on the lower end. In terms of the supplies, it's a 2, so not too burdensome. And then in terms of the prep time, it's a 1. So it just is at a glance that it just kind of helps you to, you know, to kind of see it. So that's a consistent structure for all the requirements. And then what I would say though is that it's, you know, for, let's say, let's roll Lions, you know, the time requirement is a 5 because you're actually going to, you know, be out for a bit doing the activity. The other thing I wanted to show is that, you know, for the, there's another requirement, or that's actually an elective, does this thing fly? And you need paper, which is kind of simple, but then you'd need to know how to make paper airplanes. So they have handy links already here directly to information, you know, resources within, you know, the scouting world for making the paper airplanes. So like I said, they've made it easier to hopefully less prep, you know, prep time for each of us to put out the meeting. The other thing I would say is that this is all accessible online, and the QR code is great, especially if you're at the den meeting and you need to look something up real quick. You just scan the QR code, you know, from your meeting place, and you can look this up. But it also means that we're able to easily share this information with other families. So if, especially with the younger ranks, if you're doing shared leadership or just even at the higher ranks, this is kind of democratized the information. So all parents are able to, you know, to help out with it. Just as an example, Lions, of course, was one of our youngest ones, but a Blue the Builder, which is a more involved one, and maybe you don't even have the necessary skills to do it, you know, though, but those are the adventures. And I think those are really going to be the activities that help to differentiate and make the scouting program more memorable. So for that, you know, you're really going to, you know, find it quite useful for the resources that they're putting together. So for example, you know, project build, I want to do one that has you know, more requirements, so tool and art caddy. So for something like that, opening. So it's indoors, it's a energy level of 3. The materials is up a 4, so it's kind of on the higher side, and a 4 in terms of time. But it lists out literally like the supply list that you need, the directions, and it also gives you additional resources. So here's a link to Caddy instructions, and then it gives you a very nicely, just laid out set of instructions. So it's they've done a nice job of linking across and really pulling through a lot of the different materials. So what I would say is, these are baseline what things that you can do, right? So you can always add your own if you're a husband or you are in the design world of design and build, and you know how to make things, you can of course make your own activities, but this is a really great foundation to start with. So that's an overview. Like I said, I think that this page here is, like I said, you can just kind of click around to math, race time, that's Pinewood Derby. This is the one where they've gone vertically and then horizontal. So this one I think is helpful. This is kind of what you'd seen in the PowerPoints where it was at a glance. So for most of these, you're going to just be able to scan from left to right and figure out exactly what you need to do. So that's what I was hoping to share with everyone tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to drop a link to that dashboard from our friends at the Sam Houston Council into the chat. Thank you.
So we're going to post this slideshow on the council website, and we will have here. Let me share my screen here.
And for the Baloo the Builder, we've had good luck with Home Depot and Lowe's. They charge $5 to $10 per Cub Scout, but we've had really good luck with them helping the dens and packs run that activity. If you reach out to them, they need a little bit of lead time to be able to schedule the class, but like they've all been like really, really receptive and helpful.
Mm-hmm. So when we send the video and the slides that we post on the council website, this is the link to the Cub Scout Adventures. We're also going to have a slide for that that Sam Houston Council grid thing that you can use to plan, particularly at the Cub Master level. If you have activities that you want to do in your den meeting, your pack meetings rather, or a cycling meeting or a hiking meeting, what all the requirements are. So, so I am going to wrap up the presentation, give a little bit of overview about what we did, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So the summary of what we covered tonight is that these updates were developed after an extensive survey of parents and leaders. The idea here is to make it easier for us as leaders to implement the program. It's really adapted to allow more multi-rank and pack activities. One of the changes that happened a couple of years ago is now dens are allowed to be multiple ranks. So if you're a smaller pack, you can put your lions and tigers together in one den and then have activities that cover the parallel requirements for lions and tigers. The required adventures, the fact they're all much more straightforward, they're much simpler, and they're, you know how they do it, and they all align. So those are simpler and more straightforward. A lot more optional activities. They have a lot more flexibility. You have the opportunity here to get more parent involvement. The slides that the web pages that Celeste just showed, it's fairly easy if you have a parent and you want your parent, a den parent, who's not a den leader, but you want them to do one portion of the den meeting, which is something we really encourage. You really should try and get your parents involved. But if you give them the link to the step-by-step how to do the link for this particular adventure, this particular segment of the adventure, it makes it very easy for them because you've given them a roadmap how to do it. Particularly at the Arrow of Light level, it's really focused on making a transition into the Scouts BSA troops. The Arrow of Lights are supposed to be in patrols rather than dens. They just work, the requirements work very easily and very neatly into the things they're going to start learning once they become a scout in a troop. And the whole idea of this is to make Cub Scouting more fun. So the thing about this and the thing about the resources is you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You've got lots of resources in the books, with the QR codes from the books online. They all link together to allow you to build on what all the other scouting leaders done in the past and put together the program that's simple, fun, and easy for the scouts. The next thing I want to talk about is training. And this training here talks about the new program, but you want to have all the adult leaders in your den take all the required training, because in addition to the materials we talked about now, that's what really helps you become an effective leader, helps you be the best scouter you can. And our training motto is every scout deserves a trained leader. So I want to talk about the requirements for training. First, we all should know there's youth protection training. Every 2 years, you are required to take youth protection training. Everyone who's an adult leader is required to. Leaders, a new policy is that 2 years after you've last taken youth protection training, as soon as it times out, you are suspended as a youth leader and you can't participate in any scouting activities as a leader. So on myscouting.org, the pack leaders, the Cub Master and committee chair and charter org rep, and I think maybe even all the registered leaders in the pack can look at a YPT report and see who's timing out. You'll be getting lots of emails, 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, 14, 7 days before it times out. But once you do, you're not permitted to be, if it does, you can't be a scout leader until you've renewed it. And once you renew it, actually, council, they get a report and they have to specifically lift your suspension. So it doesn't even happen automatically as soon as you take YPT. That's the baseline for everyone. For each of the Cub Scout positions, or every position in scouting, there is basic position-specific training. Ray had a slide that talked about the training you can take online. The other training you can take is live training. So the position training covers things like how do you run a den and pack, but it's also about things like the aims and methods of Cub Scouting, how childhood development, resources available, program planning. So it's more than just what do you need to do to run a den meeting. It's about all these things you can do to involve people in Cub Scouting and really learn about the program from a much broader perspective. You can take that online. I'm a big fan of live training, and we are holding in October a live training session in Southern Westchester. It's in Rye Brook here, Crawford Park. It's essentially if you take the Hutch to the second to last exit before you get into Connecticut, that's where we are. Monday, October 21st and October 28th, we have a 7 to 9 o'clock live training session where after you take the session, you'll be considered to be trained as a Cub Master, Assistant Cub Master, Den Leader, Assistant Den Leader, committee member or committee chair. So basically we're covering all of the scouting position, Cub Scouting positions. And it's fun because you get to meet your fellow leaders in person, you get to ask questions. And it's a great training that if you can make it or have any of the leaders in your dens come in and make it, that'd be great. It's free. The other thing is training. The term Scouts use is direct contact leaders. Basically, it's leaders whose job, in their job description, it is to take Scouts out into the outdoors. You're supposed to take hazardous weather training every 2 years. It's about a half-hour online course, online like we took YPT. And it's a pretty good course about what hazardous weather can happen, what to do, and how to plan your outings and meetings to accommodate hazardous weather. Then the next thing is the additional training. Additional training is not required, but the training that is required for some is BALOO, Basic Adult Leader Outdoor Orientation. This is an overnight live training course. And the key here is any Cub Scout event that has an overnight component, you're required to have a BALOO trained leader present. So if you're doing a camp out or an overnight at a museum or anything like that, you must have at least one BALOO trained leader. Or even for an Hour of Light den, if they are camping with a Scouts BSA troop, you're supposed to have a BALOO trained leader. I think most packs know about this. Many have just 1 or 2 leaders, but really, it's a great course. It's a lot of fun. You get to really meet your fellow leaders who are in the same position. It's designed to sort of teach camping from everybody who's never even pitched a tent to Eagle Scouts. And it talks lots of skills, hands-on skills you need to run to be a Cub Scout leader. And there are 2 of these coming up. The first one is October 5th and 6th in Walden, New York, and October 12 and 13 at Camp Bullowa. For any of these live training courses, you go to the council webpage, ghvscouting.org, and there's a link on there that says training calendar or training courses. You click on that and it'll give you links to register for any of these things. One thing that's sort of on a hiatus that I hope we're going to revive is to University of Scouting, which was a program where we had where it gave all sorts of courses about all sorts of aspects about the Cub Scout program, Scouts BSA, courses on Scout cooking and special needs and all sorts of stuff. We've had some scheduling issues, but hopefully we're going to restart that. We've been talking about some mini universities. There's also great supplemental training, things like shooting sports, actually now call them range and target sports. So you can train to be a BB instructor, or BB range master. And the other thing about the shooting sports, or range and target, they call them now, they changed the term, is for each of the ranks, you can get a belt loop or a pin. It's an adventure for shooting sports. But the trick here, it has to be at a council or district activity. You as a pack can't run a BB gun activity, but if it's a council activity, at the range at Camp Bullowa or someplace like that, or Durland, if it's run by the district or council, it can count. If you want to do that for your Scouts and you can get yourself trained as a range master, it makes it very easy to work with the district council event because you can help out.
I just want to add, there's one exception to that, which is if you want to do archery for your pack, you can do it at a council camp. So like, for example, archery, you can do at Camp Bullowa. BB guns, you can do at Durland.
So packs can reserve that space now. And a trained range officer will be assigned to them for that time that they rent out.
If you got a trained range master in your pack, it makes it easy and helps counsel out. You don't have to find somebody else. Leave no trace training, critical for our outdoor ethics requirements, first aid, stuff like that. And then the last training course, the pinnacle training course of the scouting movement worldwide, certainly for Scouting America, is Wood Badge, which is a course over 5 days, 2 weekends. It's really about leadership training. You get a neckerchief and 2 little wooden beads if you take it. It's really an advanced course, and you get to meet some of the best scouting leaders out there. You make some really good scouting friends. And it's just a fantastic course. So really, please do the required training, have everybody in your pack to the extent you can, do the required training. Frankly, the reason that I started organizing and then putting on this live training course is I was having real trouble getting people in my pack trained. I said, we're going to do a course in our local park in Crawford Park, so there's no damn excuse for not going and doing the training. If you can't do it for a live course, please do it online. You can break it, it's little segments, you do it over a different time, but training is critical. It really was what helps us bring the best program we can to our scouts. So with that, thank you all for being here, for listening to all of us, for hopefully being able to take this through to your scouts. And now we have some time for questions and answers.
So the only question I saw that was put in the